Come build next door to our church. We could use another church over there. Okay, well, welcome to the January 27th Capital Investment Committee meeting. And I'd like to call roll. Alderman Blanton.
Here.
Alderman Anson.
Here.
And Alderman Matt Brown.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And Alderman Berger here. All right, would like approval of minutes, please. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And that would be for the November 9th Capital Investment Committee meeting minutes. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman, I'm sorry, what's the matter with that? Alderman Brown? Sorry.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
All right. All right, we'll go to item two, I'm sorry, consideration of grant water availability for 2600 Hillsborough Road.
So this is an application for water availability for 40 meters, so 40 SFUEs. This parcel is outside of our city limits, still within the county, north in the Grassland area, in the north of the Hunterwood subdivision. There is a small typo in the memo. We serve around this property, but not this parcel already. We have an agreement with the developer as well that they would loop the water line, which would help eliminate a dead end to our system. The applicant is requesting availability, and we're recommending approval.
All right, and how far away is the line that they're hooking onto?
It's to the edge of the parcel.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion? None, seeing none. All right, all in favor?
Can't do it.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right, passes 4-0. Number 3, consideration to deny sewer availability at 328 Franklin Road.
So this one is an interesting one. So this is Franklin Road, directly across from Harlansdale. This is one where it falls into a small number of parcels right there that are not served by our sewer system. They're on septic tanks. You denied availability to a parcel just north of this one a couple earlier last year. It was the non-for-profit, I think, drug rehabilitation center in that same area. It's just the grades are cost prohibitive. The line would have to be bored underneath Franklin Road and extended to the Harlansdale Manor subdivision. It's cost prohibitive for the single applicant, so they're requesting denial. We're recommending denial.
Do you have a motion?
I'll move to deny.
All right, do you have a second?
Second.
All right. Any conversation, any discussion about this? All right. Mr. Mayor?
Is your mic, your mic's on?
Mike,
In-laws' former home.
put your mic on. Yep, or put it, yeah, that's fine.
Thanks for reminding me.
Do not put it on, but,
This is my in-laws' former home, and I just know that they had a lot of septic tank issues.
oh, wow.
And I just wanted to make sure that that's addressed in some form or fashion. I'd hate for the property owner that's proposed to find out that it doesn't work, which it probably is worn out.
All right. And is the property owner here? Would you like to say anything?
No, it's
If you,
there, so, but it is cost prohibitive.
for you,
It is, and so so with the county, if the Board of Mayor and Aldermen denies, it allows the homeowner to proceed with rehabilitating their septic tank and develop and the
and you have the.
remodeling of your
And you
home.
have the opportunity to do that. The septic field's there, you have an opportunity to fix what you need to fix, or,
I hope so.
Expand.
I mean, this was the first step in
Oh, I see.
doing that, yeah.
so in order to go to them to do that, we need to deny it, and you need to check that out, and if it's not gonna work, you'll have to come back and discuss further. Okay,
Well, of course, my first choice would be to have city
yeah, of
sewer, but, yeah.
course. All right,
Can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Leanne James.
okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
So the septic, do you have the state plat on it?
I've got a plat, but it's very, very old.
Did you order the state record on it?
I have not.
Only reason I say that, I'm a Realtor and I deal with septic all the time, so I would do a requisition. I can get you the information.
That'd be great.
To order that, because I say this, because sometimes, even though there's a septic there and it's been a long time ago, it will now no longer re-perk on that site. For whatever reason, there's various reasons why it won't re-perk, and it may be prohibitive for her to even put a septic there. So I think we kind of need to go down that path first before we really deny, so you need to probably order that from the state, have a new perk test to see if it will even perk for septic, and if it won't, then we may need to revisit the sewer opportunity again.
The soil scientist has come for his initial visit, and he says the soil's good. It should be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure he perks it with a bedroom number.
Yes.
Yeah,
Typically, the county won't even engage until we
Right.
do this
Until-
denial. So
right.
this is sort of
Okay.
a starting
Okay.
point. And then, obviously, if there's more we need
they
to
can
work
come
with,
back,
we
they
can
have
come back to.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. All right, we'll take the vote. Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right, passes 4-0. Sorry about that. System is slow. All right, number 4, consideration of draft final changes ordered to the City of Franklin contract 2020-0028 with Garney Construction for Spencer Creek at Franklin Road Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project to decrease $139,323.30. Decrease. Yep.
In the contract amount. So this is the project that occurred a while ago. It was the sewer that started on the east side of Franklin Road, bored underneath Franklin Road, underneath the railroad, and then came through the church property and connected to the existing sewer. We coordinated with the railroad, and we had a couple of change orders, and the overall result is a net decrease. The reason it's taken so long is that we don't typically like to close out projects until we get approved as-built. And there was a little bit of coordination between our inspector and the engineer and the contractor to get all of that taken care of. So it's nothing out of the norm.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second? Anyone?
Second?
All right, all in favor? Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
All right, and Alderman Berger, yes. All right, number 5, consideration of road impact fee offset agreement, City of Franklin, contract number 2021-0315 with Lockwood Joint Venture LLC for an amount not to exceed $29,580.
This is for a development that's happening right there at Carruthers and Old South Carruthers Road. They're required to dedicate right-of-way to accommodate the future widening of Carruthers Parkway, which will one day go to 5 or 4-lane median divided roadway. And so this allows us to compensate them with arterial impact fees for the right-of-way dedication.
Okay.
Happy
Do
to
you have
answer
a
any
motion?
questions.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
And that's pretty, I mean, we've got that, that's a set formula, it's a set process. We always do, it's.
Yes. Yeah, if we're taking right-of-way from individuals, we'll pay for it unless it's a local street. Local streets are dedicated.
Yeah. All right. All in favor, Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Alderman Hanson,
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right, number 6, consideration of Amendment 1 to Road Impact Fee Agreement, City of Franklin Contract 2019-0031 with Clayton Properties Group for a cost increase of $314,319.
This is for development north of Del Rio Pike that Goodall Homes is doing. They were required originally, and the board approved an agreement to, for them to dedicate the right-of-way, and we would offset them $42,000. They're also supposed to put in turn lanes with it. Del Rio one day goes to a 3-lane roadway, and instead of putting the turn lane in, they've decided to just widen the entire road to 3 lanes, which is what came out of the site plan submittals. And so because they're widening it to the full width, we are obligated then to compensate them for that construction. So the cost of construction is substantially more, but what we can reimburse them is up to the impact fees that they paid. And the expectation is when a developer comes in, they improve the frontage of their development. And so we're recommending approval to increase the reimbursement from $42,450 to $356,769, and at no time will reimbursement exceed the impact fees collected.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, any discussion from the board? No? Okay. All in favor, Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Computer's slow. There we go. All right, consider, number 7, consideration of draft City of Franklin contract 2021-0199 at Middle Tennessee Electric Membership Corporation relocation agreement for the West Main Street Bridge widening at an estimate cost of $40,171.
So the West Main Street Bridge widening project is one of your capital projects that you funded. Really, we're just widening the bridge to the north. Widening that bridge is causing us to have to relocate overhead power. So what this agreement does is Middle Tennessee has agreed to acquire the easements necessary to relocate their poles. We would be responsible for a portion of that cost, and then they're also responsible for relocating their facilities. So this $40,000 is an estimate of what that will take for them to relocate prior to the project, and we're recommending approval
It's an estimate for our portion or an estimate for the whole?
for our portion.
Just
Ultimately, we pay actual cost, and they have to provide documentation on what they spent and how they spent it before we reimburse.
Move for approval.
All right,
Second.
all right.
Can we keep Margaret updated as this project?
Yes,
Sure you
yes.
are.
I know.
I know.
I was like, we better do this one right, or she'll be walking through that door.
And we will definitely go get her when this is done. We'll go get
I'm
her
sure.
and bring her out there.
I think that's right. I think
All
that's
right,
right.
all in favor, Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. Thank you. Number 8, consideration draft Amendment 1 to City of Franklin Contract 2019-0317, professional service agreement with Alfred Benish and Company for the final design of the multi-use trail and bridge at the park at Harlansdale Farm with lump sum cost increase of $59,770.
So during the design process, we were directed to add a section of trail from the bridge on the wastewater treatment plant up to Claude Yates, so that the city had their own separate system from Chestnut Bend. They've actually done that work. They just went ahead and did it to help us get through the federal funding portion of it, which is getting the preliminary plans submitted to TDOT. So that was an additional expense, and then they also, to accommodate the drainage and have no impact on floodplain, we had to add in a high-flow channel across the property, and we also needed to, at the request of our Parks Department, they wanted lights. And so this amendment allows us to do a lighting design and finalize the design of that high-flow bypass channel and move this project forward. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
What's the timeline on bidding?
Well, we got all held up in TDOT Environmental for what seemed like a year and a half.
Didn't just seem like a year and a half, it wasn't a year and a half.
But the project's 100% designed, minus a few little nuts and bolts. So as soon as we can get them to certify environmental and right-of-way, we can bid. But if this was a city project, we would have bid it probably 6 months ago. That's the cost of accepting federal funds.
I can't remember which board I was on. I want to say it was Public Arts Commission where Lisa brought forth the public art on the bridge itself.
The bridge design.
I don't think that
components.
we approved it. I think it was all just kind of like, this is what we're thinking, and then there was some,
It's designed, so I'm sure it was sharing the design for feedback with you back in the day.
dude, we have a public arts commission where we have to approve it. Because it's public art. So I'll need to go back and look and see, because
Okay.
I don't think we finished that.
All right.
Because I can remember some feedback from some artists. So it'd be interesting to see where that is. I'll
Okay.
reach out to Lisa.
All right. Yeah, let's, I remember us sharing, I remember seeing the same thing a while ago,
Yeah.
but I don't recall what the end game was on that, so.
No
okay.
idea. I just know it's
Right.
designed.
All right, any,
So once we get that, we bid.
Once we get right-of-way environmental,
Okay.
then we.
And all that's
and
in their
final-
court at this point.
And final plans. It's all in TDOT's court.
Okay.
And we are constantly calling them and trying to get them to get this
do
project
you have a
completed.
red phone hotline right to them?
Yeah, they have, their local
I-
programs office is pretty amazing, honestly. And they serve as the point person to help us get these projects done. Where we're seeing things get held up is when it goes to their different divisions for review and approval. And honestly, they've been extremely backed up with environmental reviews, and it's backing up a lot of projects right now. So I know it's something they're working on trying to fix, but we are constantly discussing it with local programs to try to move it forward.
Our goal is to always have the ball in TDOT or TDEC's court, whoever is the state partner on these types of projects. So that's the main thing we can do, and then we just continually follow up. So once we bid, then it's, how long's our construction projection?
I don't know that we've set a time frame. I'm thinking about a year with the bridge
Okay.
is a reasonable time frame to do it.
It'll be between a year to a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just costs more and more money.
I like to
every time we
say,
wait.
I like to be more aggressive with it.
I-
But
we-
usually we'll talk with
Those of us
con-
in Chestnut Bend would love you to be more aggressive
Yeah.
with it.
We'd
for
all
sure.
love to see this one.
Honestly, we will
Well-
try to talk with contractors before we set that final time frame. But I think it could be done in a year, but we'll
Was-
have those conversations.
Was that additional sidewalk for city access, was that for things like pilgrimage or stuff like that? Is that why you were dropping that in there?
Yes, sir, it's for, and actually, I'll try to point that out kind of here, so we, oh, there it is. So it's actually behind Chestnut Bend. So we've got the trail system in Chestnut Bend, which we have an agreement to access, but for during high flow events, we actually are going to have our own trail system on city property that will be on the water management site, that will flow kind of where my cursor's showing on the screen, that will come down and meet where the Chestnut Bend ties in, the trail system ties into the city property, and will tie into that same trail system. So yes, it's for
Yeah.
large events.
I like that a lot, I really do. But it also, it actually makes me even more so want to look at how we're directing traffic in and out of that place at some
But
point.
would it be like a multimodal trail size so that you would run like gators and things, not vehicles?
No, we'd never run like trucks or anything on there. It's designed in such a way where you could drive the occasional work vehicle on there, but gators and things like that, absolutely, you could drive those on there for like staff and things. We would never allow,
And
the
how do we
average
keep
person.
it from being a
12 foot.
two-lane road for pedestrians?
It's 12 foot wide.
It's 12 foot wide, yeah.
I know, but how are we keeping the public from accessing it?
Parks is going to work offline outside of the grant to look at gating. I mean, obviously, it's being funded by TDOT with TAP funding for transportation purposes, so we have to be careful of
Yeah, how can you do that?
how we gate it. But
Yeah.
they're gonna look at that after the project to see what's appropriate, what's not appropriate.
And it will have to be accessible to the public permanently because of, it's using TAP funds. It's using federal transportation dollars, so
So
it
you
does
can't-
have to be
yep.
accessible to the public for a certain amount of years.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can't prohibit that.
But
Yeah, they'll take their funds back. We don't want that. All right, any other discussion? All right. All in favor, Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman,
move to
I thought
approve.
we had it, sorry, yes,
Second.
Alderman Blanton.
Yeah, ma'am.
All right. We have a first and a second. All in favor, Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes, all right. Thank you. Number 9, consideration resolution 2021-117, resolution declaring an existing section of the right-of-way known as Edward Curd Lane, generally located west of Carruthers Parkway and north of Liberty Pike, as surplus property and authorizing its disposal by the city administrator.
So we have excess right-of-way in a lot of places around the city. The board's policy of what y'all approved is, generally speaking, we try not to abandon sections of right-of-way. So say we have like an alley behind a bunch of residential houses. We're willing to usually abandon that if there's no use for it with the city, and our policy is we give 50% to each abutting property owner, so we just split it equally. We don't abandon them in chunks, we want to abandon the entirety of that alley, because we don't want to own property, obviously, that we can't access. So this is where Edward Curd used to be. the
Many,
old-
many years ago.
The old right-of-way of it, so there's a Mill Crofton line in it, and when it's under, when we project the value to be less than $75,000, it allows us just to abandon it. And so we're saying in this case, it's non-buildable, you can't put a structure on it. The value's less than $75,000, and our recommendation is to abandon that right-of-way. And again, 50% of it would go to each property owner along their frontage, which has historically been our process. And if someone doesn't want it, they're also allowed to forfeit their right in writing to say they don't want that right-of-way, and then we can give 100% to the other property owner.
Who are the property owners?
I know one's,
South Star?
one's a developer, I don't know, Jimmy, do you know?
No, I think they, isn't it Embry doesn't?
Embry's to
Embry?
the east there, and then there's, I don't remember the names of the other two property owners.
Okay.
Of the other two property owners there, but there's no structures on them at this time, and this all came about from the need for the Huffines development, which is to the north, to install a turn lane on Liberty. And the discussion with the property owners was, well, we'll dedicate some right-of-way to you for the turn lane, but we would like to see if we can get some of the Edward Curd right-of-way back. And so it's kind of a swap that the developer led the negotiations on, so that's where this came from.
And no issues with there's a line running through that or anything like that? We don't,
No, their easement's still in place.
Okay.
Usually when we abandon them, we'll put a public utility and drainage easement on it in the event that there are utilities in it. So that's probably what we would look at here, is to make sure that those easements are in place before we abandon. So if we abandon it, usually we'll sign an easement document first, and then the abandonment of the right-of-way.
gotcha.
And then the current Edward Curd Lane, as you can see on here, goes through and goes up through that property too, so that's the
And our
current-
department review team, which is representatives from every department, typically will review these, so we make sure streets is looking at it, water and sewer's looking at it, that it's not just
Yeah.
one or two people. It's a
Okay.
group of people that make sure they evaluate it.
All right. May I
And
have-
actually, existing Edward Curd is south of there.
Right.
The roadway to the
Right there.
north is REM Drive, the new road.
Is that the new road?
That's the
So
new
Edward
roadway.
Curd stops at Liberty, and as it goes
Correct.
north, it's
It's REM Drive.
REM. Interesting. All right, any other, do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Brandy?
Second.
Matt, okay. Any further discussion? We're good? Okay. All in favor? Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right. Now we are to our projects. So if we want to talk about any of the capital projects from the dashboard or the status updates, is there anything you want to point out? And then we can take requests from the aldermen if they have any.
I will actually take requests because I do not have any
Okay.
major updates. I will say we had a few technical
Karaoke.
difficulties with the with the dashboard, so we're working through those right now, so.
Okay.
So where are we on the Liberty Pike roundabout projects? I gotta plan my exit. My plans just got changed.
You'll be able to
so-
exit, that's the problem.
So
But
it,
it's right, we need to check that lake thing too with that.
and was the board meeting on Tuesday or?
Yeah, you recently just approved the underground utility analysis that we need to do. So once we get that analysis back, we have to go back and look at all the utilities. The roadway design is essentially done.
Yes.
Oh, it is?
To a
Huh.
right-of-way phase. However, we got to figure out the utilities so that when we go to the property owners, which is probably the next step, once we get that figured out, we'll have a public meeting with the property owners where we can share the impact to their property. And then we get their feedback, assuming there's no major objections, we proceed with right-of-way acquisition. And so that, but we don't want to go to the property owners once, or we don't want to mislead them and say, this is the impact, and then we add another 20-foot water line easement behind that. So once we get those utilities worked out, we'll schedule that public meeting, and then we can move into right-of-way acquisition.
And actually, the contract you approved Tuesday night was the underground utility locate for Church Street. The one that was
other-
approved for the Liberty Pike intersection improvements. I believe that was done in December.
December, yeah.
Correct. So we'll start on that one here in the next month or so. And once we get that information done, like Paul said, we'll coordinate those two issues, and invariably, we'll have some changes to the plans to tweak those, because the whole reason we have that contract for is we were having trouble locating all the utilities.
Yes.
So that we could properly design
That's
everything.
the way it always is, isn't it?
Yes.
Is this for temporary location of the utilities
It's
or
both.
just
It's
both?
so we can tie in permanent to
Permanent.
the relocations for the existing, to tie in the permanent relocations for the actual roadway to widen out. So it's both. So we can keep people active while we're
Yeah,
while we're
you've
relocating
gotta
the
have-
roadway.
So it's temporary.
Yeah, a little bit of
and-
everything.
Ideally, we can do it once and do a permanent relocation, but,
Yes.
you know, every once in a while, like a McEwen job, you have to do a big temporary relocation and
Yeah,
then do the
huge.
permanent, which is super expensive.
Yeah, that one, it's unbelievable.
Other than my own desire to know where the bridge was, which we already talked about, I didn't have any questions, mostly because we're getting ready to do this mobile work session. We're going to have another work session on this stuff, and candidly, I need that dump of all of that to really engage to engage in much more conversation about it. So I don't have any other discussion items on the dashboard. I think, at this
Anybody
time.
else? All right. All right, I think that's our last item, so are there any other comments?
Motion to
Yeah,
adjourn.
all right.
My favorite motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right, thank y'all.